Welcome to INFS 325 Public Relations. In session 3, we are going to do a little bit of the origins of public relations. So we will look at how public relations started in America and even in the whole world, and then we'll narrow it down to how public relations also started in libraries. So this is a lot of reading, so you'd need to be able to read this particular session for a better understanding of the origins of public relations. But let me just highlight a few things. It started with farm bulletins in Iraq in 1800, when the archaeologists in their bulletins came up with the latest technologies in harvesting, in sowing, and irrigation. Now, when they made all these tools available to the farmers produced more food, the citizenry ate more food, and the country became wealthier. So you can consider this as a good example of a planned persuasion to reach specific publics for a particular purpose. That is public relations. And that has been acclaimed to be the beginning of public relations as far back as the 1800 BC. Fast forward, we also have a lot of public relations activities and communications among the ancient Greeks. So the aspiring ancient Greeks, the Greek politicians, enlisted the aid of sophists. The sophists are individuals renowned for making reasonable and rhetoric statements, and the sophists actually set the stage for today's lobbyists. So who is a lobbyist? A person who is able to go and make your case well known for you, especially to parliamentarians and to those who matter in the political arena. And so the practice of public relations at that time became a battleground for questions of ethics. And because the lobbyists were just there to be able to make good case or to make a case for issues, whether it was good or it was bad. So we asked the question, should a lobbyist or a sophist or a professional, a PR professional, sell talents to highest bidder regardless of personal beliefs, values, and ideologies? This also brings out the case of the role of the sophist. Are they wholly PR professionals? Then again, during the Roman Emperor, we have Julius Caesar making a lot of communicating, especially when it came to upcoming battles. They will rally public support through publications and staged events. That is also another public relations activity. Then we move on to propaganda, and this was used in the Catholic Church. Originally, propaganda didn't have a negative connotation. The Catholic Church used it to propagate the faith. Somehow, the terminology now has a negative connotation, and then you would not relate propaganda to public relations. But these are part of the origins of public relations. Then we have the early American experience, where we have the colonists trying to persuade King George about the same rights as the Englishmen had. You know about America and all its immigrants. Because they were working, they realized that they needed to have the same rights as the Englishmen. So they came up with a number of activities. When the king refused them their rights, they were able to use what we call the weaponry of the sword and the pen to be able to get whatever they wanted. So this idea of taxation without representation, and they call it as tyranny, was a popular PR slogan to galvanize all Americans at that time. Moving on, we had so many other activities, such as the Boston Tea Party. Then we had the creation of the Constitution, which brought about the Bill of Rights. All these helped to safeguard the PR practice in America. So you read about the First Amendment, which is there, and which also helped to improve the PR practice in the US. Then, of course, we have the later American experience, where we have the press agentry. We have people such as Amos Kendall and Barum. And then we also had, Kendall happened to be the press secretary for Andrew Jackson, and he wrote speeches for him, wrote press releases. So he really acted as a PR officer. If you remember the characteristics of PR or the functions, a PR officer also writes and also communicates. Then again, we had the Barum experience of public relations. And with the Barum experience, people actually loved him, some also hated him, because he said, and his popular motto was, public be fooled. You have to be very conscious of what is going on. So he staged bizarre media events and generated a lot of coverage for the circus performers. Another PR activity is what William Vanderbilt, Morgan, and Rockefeller all brought about. They had the attitude of the public be damned. And with that attitude, they sowed a lot of discontent among people in America at that time. So fast forward again to what the Muckrakers. These are feisty journalists who were very, very anxious about what the government was doing, and they got involved in Congress passing the laws. They also got involved in the conflicts between employers and employees. And they have formed newly organized labor unions, and their opinion actually swelled against the business people. All these that they did, they used public relations activities to be able to change the perception of government towards the society. Another method that they used really was to get the public to at least consider their business point of view. And so for them, they viewed public relations as it should be honest and it should be candid. So for them, the best way to influence public opinion was through honesty and candor. Now let's move to the father of modern public relations. And we have Ivy Lee, and he based his work on honesty and candor. And for him, it was not the public be dumb, but the public be informed. Because for him, public relations is a matter of informing, of educating, and keeping people, giving them the correct information, factual information. So Lee emphasized news value over just the advertisement and publicity stunts. He believed that companies must strive to earn public confidence, and the only way was to present the side of honesty, accuracy, and he did that forcefully. So public relations, after all those things came into force, and a number of activities came along with it. The growth of larger institutions, public relations heightened public awareness. It brought a lot of societal change. And then, of course, global media influenced public opinion and democracy. And then, of course, the tool which helped was the internet. Now, let's look at, so that is the growth of public relations in the whole world and in America. Now, let's look at public relations in libraries. Originally, the term public relations never existed in libraries. The closest view of public relations happened in 1876 when Samuel Green wrote a personal discourse, and he titled it Personal Relationship Between Librarians and Readers. Indeed, he never titled it Public Relations. He was looking at the relationship between librarians and readers, and today we consider that public relations. 20 years later, at an ALA conference, Ms. Stearns talked about advertising libraries. So gradually, we had all the related terms coming up in public relations in libraries as well. And in 1910, John Cotton brought about the idea of using a billboard to advertise library services. Fast forward to 1917, again we have library advertising being presented as a paper at the Swedish conference. And this lady introduced a variety of methods for us to spread information about public library service. Other activities were carried out by Joseph Wheeler, and he made library widely known. In Germany also, we had a few modern PR activities taking place in libraries. So gradually, the term public relations did not enter into the library field before the 1930s. It was in 1935 in the Wilson Library Bulletin that a column was started known as the Crow's Nest, and this served as a forum for library public relations. And of course, that same year, Gilbert Ward wrote a book titled Publicity for Public Libraries. So, libraries have generally started without even using the term public relations. Till of late, we now have public relations in libraries. So studying this particular subject is not something which is very new. It is something which has been happening gradually in the library environment. And the idea is to make known the number of services, the number of books that we have. Again, in public relations, it appeared as a separate subject in the Reader's Guide to Periodical Literature. And of course, in 1939, the American Library Public Relations Council was formed, and this was devoted to investigation, discussion, and promotion of every phase of library public relations. Other actors have helped the public relations activity in libraries to flourish. We talk of the McDiarmid, who mentioned that public relations involves every contact which an organization makes with any part or individual of the public. And of course, this continued in the 1950s up to today. Today, we have public relations featuring prominently in activities in academic libraries, in public libraries, in special libraries, and even in school libraries. So this has been a whole series of history, and we have a number of references to help you to be able to go over it and read. For the library aspect of public relations, I would encourage you to read the Encyclopedia of Library and Information Science and get a specific volume for you to be able to read about the history of public relations in libraries. I hope you have enjoyed this session. Thank you for listening.